Hi, how are you doing? I'm Lee Michael Walton. I wanted to make a video, it's been on my mind for quite a while actually. I wanted to speak about what happened following my breakdown. And it's intrigued me that a lot of the things that I experienced were very similar to what people describe following a near-death experience. And also I kind of wanted to talk a bit about what happens when you're at the other side of trauma, on the other side of depression, when you're actually at the point that you never thought you were going to reach. I had suffered with depression and anxiety for many years, and this was as a result of childhood trauma and some very, very traumatic experiences that I underwent as an adult as well. There was a kind of string of things, a relentless, seemingly relentless number of events and occurrences that were really difficult for me. One of them was having the entire roof of my mouth, all the gums and my teeth cut out, and my face was partially removed and reconstructed with bone and skin from my leg, and I was being fed through my stomach with a tube, you know. That was 21-hour surgery, and for a long time, for years, my face was swollen, and I had a lot of things to deal with. But thankfully, they got rid of the cancer, and I'm greatly indebted to the surgeons. But there were a number of things that really took their toll on me, and what happened is that I started to experience a terror that is very difficult for me to put into words. I felt that every cell of my body was imbued with some kind of a terror, you know, just beyond fear. And I knew that I was fragmenting. I couldn't hold it together anymore. I couldn't function. And I finally broke down completely and made an attempt on my life. I was hospitalized, and they said that they would release me from the hospital and I could go home if I agreed to be visited by the mental health nurses twice a day. So I agreed to that, and I found that those early days very, very difficult. I would hardly move from the room, and I just felt as if I wasn't going to recover from this breakdown. With the cancer surgery, actually, I thought I might recover and I might be free of cancer. But with a breakdown, I didn't think that I was going to recover from that. But in the weeks and the months when I was home after the breakdown, I started to feel that there was something new occurring in me. And I wasn't sure exactly what that was. I couldn't kind of articulate it very well, but it was a sense. I began to realize that it was the sense that there was a spark within me that was new, that hadn't been there before. And incidentally, importantly, when I started to recover from the breakdown and begin to be reassembled internally, because that's the thing about that level of a breakdown. You know, we're not talking about finding things difficult and retreating for a few days and hiding from the world. This is a real serious fragmentation. And so my internal world was reassembling. It was beginning to be reconstructed in a different way. And there was a sense that there was a spark in me that something was different. And prior to the breakdown, I'd gone through years and years just waking up in the morning and feeling a terror, frightened at life, preempting disaster around every corner, just in a constant state of terror. And this was partly, post-traumatic stress disorder. Just in the grip of constant terror, and I didn't want to live like this anymore. I used to pray and say to God, God, please don't let me carry on living like this. As I talk about it, I can feel that distress coming up in me again. But what was amazing actually was that level of fear, that kind of torment has never returned. After my breakdown, I began to sense that there was a new me emerging. And the breakdown, with the strength of the breakdown, had flushed through the earlier trauma, the childhood traumas, the adult traumas, and as I say, reconstructed me anew. And this is where it gets to me really interesting for me, because with near-death experiences, people, describe frequently that they come back after the near-death experience with a completely new outlook on life and a sense of themselves, and that's very different, and greater intuitive experiences, psychic experiences, I suppose, being able to pick up on people's thoughts. And I have experienced all of these things increasingly since my breakdown. And I noticed within the first few months, that I was very affected by nature, very affected by it. And I remember once on TV there was a lake that was appearing on the scene. Well, actually it wasn't even a lake, it was more of a pond. And I kind of began to feel tearful at the beauty of this pond. It really moved me, the purity of it. It's as if nature began to, was like a kind of expression of a greater beauty, a greater force, and that I could experience this through nature. It was like nature was a messenger for a more fantastic, beautiful reality that, was coming through the trees, coming through the ocean. And the moon, I remember, driving back one day, and there was a full moon, and I had to stop the car just to stare at it and be with the feeling of awe, of mystery, of wonderment, all these things that I was suddenly experiencing, with nature. And the other thing as well is with music, I began having ideas that I'd never had before. Music was emerging in me in ways. I would sit at the piano and music would just come through me from a realm of no thought. There was no conscious intent on me. I was just letting my fingers move and wanted, to see what was emerging. So I actually made an album called The Beginning Is Here that was based on what led to the breakdown, and then the recovery from the breakdown. And the album is a celebration of what we can do together on this journey to really, imbue each other's lives with positivity, because one of the things I'm most grateful for is the love that I had, that I was surrounded by during my breakdown. You know, people were just absolutely amazing. And I wanted the album as well to celebrate the strength that we have when we work together, you know, and how we can change things together, you know. And so the other thing as well that happened after the breakdown, as I mentioned, is that I would find myself being aware of people's emotions much more succinctly, and I would have a sense that something was about to happen, and you know, ordinarily that would happen, that I was having like premonitions and things. I was just far more in touch with people's, you know, experiences, and sitting with somebody and listening to them was something I was able to do from a much deeper place. And you know, that helped a lot when I was studying to be a psychotherapist as well. So that was very useful then, you know, to be able to be completely present with another human being. And so it's as if, you know, what do I think all this means? Well, I think when people go through near-death experiences, they call them near-death experiences, but actually these people really die, you know, and they get resuscitated. So they die, and then they're brought back, but their soul has touched the divine in a way that it can't quite do, I suppose, when you're alive in the physical body. You know, you go to the other side, you're with God in a much more, how can I say, intimate way, I suppose, and people come back with the experience of that and the certainty that there is something greater. And I think what happened with me is I went right to the edge, you know. I went right to the edge of death. I wasn't resuscitated, but it was a huge, you know, breakdown where I was restructured. And I think in that process, I think I went very close to the source, you know, and that is why I became much more concerned with people and their experiences and what I could do here, you know, in response to those things. You know, I carried a deeper concern than I had before, and I suppose I was freed up, you know, after the breakdown. I was just freed up from the torment as well. So there was a new space there for something else to take, you know, there was a new space for something else to move with. And I just, you know, feel a huge sense of gratitude to have undergone this experience and to have experienced such deep love from people as well. And there's one other thing I'd like to say. This is quite difficult as well to put into words, because to me it transcends any word I can find, and I feel moved again as I'm beginning to talk about this, but it was a few weeks after the breakdown when I started to become a little bit more kind of mobile, I suppose, and I just felt compelled to to move from the settee to a chair, to meditate. And I had kind of done brief meditations occasionally before my breakdown, but on this occasion, when I went into the meditation fairly quickly, I felt surrounded by the most profound love. It was not just awe-inspiring, it was actually quite shocking. And after the meditation, it made me think about what it says in the Bible about fearing God. This love was actually so profound, so strong, there was nothing that could get beyond it. It was just a total, I just can't imagine there being anything stronger than that. And it surrounded me, and it moved in me, and it, it was just an incredible experience. And this was in the afternoon, early afternoon. When I came out of that meditation, all I could think of doing was lying on the bed and staying with this feeling of love. I didn't want anything else to disturb it. I just wanted to stay there with it. And I did that. I just went and lay down on the bed. And one of the things that came through, it was like a message. It said to me, I'm going to be with you through this. And I will see you through. I will see you through. It was as if God was saying, you're going to survive, you're going to recover, and you will have my love. So, it's an incredibly powerful thing that happened, and I was concerned about, becoming tearful in the video, but you know what? Every time I talk about it, I have the same kind of feeling that arises in me. It's so powerful that I can't not have this response, with it. And so I would wait forever before doing a video if I wanted to avoid that. So, and I guess it's good to be just honest about how it was and the feelings that emerged in me at the time. These are profound experiences, and I think it's important that we share them. So, anyway, it's really good to be able to share this with you, and I hope that it helps people as well, who are wondering what is on the other side. And I don't mean just of life, I mean beyond the veil of death. I mean on the other side of depression, on the other side of trauma. It is possible to live a life of fulfillment. That wound does have to bleed first. And I think there might be many ways in which people heal. It doesn't have to always be a breakdown. But I do believe that if you pray from the heart for help, that it will come. And so I send my love, and thanks very much for listening. God bless.